So I want to review this guide and just talk about what it does well and what it does bad. First of all, the amount of effort that goes into it is just insane, right? The animations, all the way that this guy has taken the time to make this guide what it is. I'll never be able to do that straight up. So what I want to do is look back at it from years ago and has it stood up? Is this stuff from 2019 still accurate? And obviously most of it is, but some of the takes in here are just old man 2007 mindset. So let's just go through it. First of all, here, the main thing is when you talk about gear prep, how back in 2019, I wasted so much time getting nature resist. Don't be like me. Back then, the question was, oh, is it going to be comparable to private servers where the damage output, yada, yada, yada? No. To keep it simple, don't get nature resist. It's not worth it. So at the start here, goes over these mobs. Yeah, you might not need to mana burn if you kill them really quick with world buffs and stuff, but otherwise those mobs will kill the raid. Go over these mobs, how they get different abilities. Great. I thought all this is fine. Nothing bad to say. I thought the Scarum explanation was pretty good. The only thing that I found missing is the importance of understanding this boss can be taunted. And yeah, just basically explains the different mechanics and stuff. Great. Says people in different spots. Great. I don't see why you'd want anyone super high up here. Maybe that's saying like the hunter range DPS. Don't be that high up. It doesn't work out well. Be either in the middle, down below. Don't be out on your own. If you accidentally pull the boss or something, it goes all over the place. It's just weird. So don't be way out in Narnia by yourself. Healers can't heal you then either. Mention the importance of getting mounts. Yep. These mobs do knockbacks. Yep. So the knockback, you want to kill them at the same time so you deal with less knockbacks on the guardians. The warriors make little adds. Yep. Talked about the bug trio fight here. So the big thing with bug trio is how they mention, oh, you want to kill Kree last. Don't. It's very, very hard to kill Kree last. Otherwise, I thought this explanation was pretty good as far as you want to kick the heals and stand out of the poison. That's really it. Have an easier time by killing Kree first. That's my advice. I thought the explanation here of how to deal with Sartura was pretty good. Just stack everything at the start, blow up all the ads, and then hopefully one or two ads will be dead by the time the boss starts spinning. So stack them, stun them, casters watch out when they spin. Pretty simple. And yeah, as far as the knockback goes, position yourself so that when you're fighting those smaller ads, you're going to get knocked back towards a wall rather than into the middle of the room. So you see here, these ads are going to do knockbacks, and if people are positioned like right behind the mob right now, they'd get knocked back against the wall compared to not. So that's my advice. As far as suppression room goes, nothing really to say. Mentions the importance of how you can stand at the side here, be out of line of sight, out of combat, drink if you want to, but don't waste much time going into this boss. It's the simplest boss in the world. Importance of killing worms, whatever, yeah. So Visk, hardest fight in terms of just like the weirdness to it. You need to prep. You don't need to get nature resist, but do need frost weapons. So yes, frost oils and frost enchant are what you want to get on your weapons. Both of those can count as frost attacks. So icy chill, yes, you want to have it. You want to have a frost weapon. As far as priests go, they're probably not going to be wanting a whole ton because they're going to be healing. Warlocks definitely should get a frost wand. Mages rank 1 frostbolt. If you don't have a frost weapon, way to do frost damage on this boss, you're useless, so make sure you have it. There is some argument you could have nature resistance for this fight, but when you're killing these blobs, when they're meeting up in the middle, it is helpful to be in normal raid gear so you can just blast down the blobs and not have to rely on a sapper charge. But typically, yeah, when they meet in the middle, you sapper charge them and it's easy. But it can be hard to coordinate. My advice on Visk is to try and do damage to the blobs before they get in the middle. It'll really help you. So I feel like this area didn't stress the importance of the kill order. The lashers you want to bring out of the raid so they don't knock you into other packs, and you want to kill these stingers as fast as possible. Kill stingers fast, remove poison, do the best you can. Expect 1 or 2 people to get one shot if you're not fast at killing those stingers. So it's funny how it says nature resist is very important for this fight. In the old strategy where you're wiping over and over and doing this without buffs, yeah, maybe. In the current version of the game, the strategy is with or without ward buffs, you're going to be able to likely kill this boss with the damage output that raids have. Just need to make sure that you're cleansing the tank. Raid is spreading out so everyone doesn't get silenced. Make sure you're using Trank Shot. This is beneficial to have 2+ hunters just so you can make sure the boss isn't enraged during frenzy. Very scary. And yeah, Hoo-Hoo's probably the hardest fight when it comes to raid output. You need to make sure you have a health stone and a nature pot to pop during the enrage phase. I feel like that's the most important thing to understand from a DPS perspective, I should say. These are different than the mobs in Aq20. So the claim is made these are the same mobs as Aq20. They're not. In Aq20, you don't really have to pay attention to the mechanics very much. In Aq40, you have to pay attention to the mechanics. So that in itself is a difference, and the mobs are actually different. You can't taunt these mobs. In Aq20, you can taunt the big guys. In Aq40, you cannot on the trash before Twin Emps. So you need to understand what the first ability is that's cast, and then from there, when you see the second ability, then you know for certain, do you stack up or have 2 groups? Make a very clean call as soon as you see these mobs come in. Pull them from range with a hunter pet, and easy peasy. Not really. I mean, each one of those you consider as a boss. So prepare to use defensives. Never fight more than 2 of those at once. Take them slow. Twin Emps, I thought that the explanation was pretty good. The melee tank brings this back. At the start here, I would recommend the Warlock tank just keep it where it is. And when the transition happens the first time, that's when then the melee tank that is closest to the boss moves. The thing that you have to understand on this boss is that the tank always needs to be the closest. They don't want to be too close or they're going to get knocked away. If you're right on top of these bosses, they can do a knockback. But very important when the teleport happens that the tank is always the closest one to the boss. That's the most important thing to understand about this fight when it comes to just general how it works. So yeah, there's some bugs, there's some blizzards. You got to watch your feet sometimes. It doesn't really matter a whole ton. All that really matters is you heal the tanks and you watch your threat, making sure when the teleport happens, the tank has the threat before you go crazy. That's really it. So yeah, like if they heal, that's bad. Make sure they're split on either sides. Here he says how melee should run away early. That's kind of safer. The reason that I said the tank needs to be closest to the boss. Let's say one of the melee is really close to the boss here and the teleport happens and now it's the caster mob. The melee starts to run away. Well, if the melee happen to be closer than the tank, then the caster mob is going to start hitting the melee and may chase them. So that can be bad. Prevent that, just make sure that the tank is always closest to the boss. Yes, your Warlock tank does need to have Shadow Resist. I'd recommend like 150 unbuffed. Definitely heavier on the Shadow Resist to start and throughout. Like the caster damage side of things on that fight is pretty insignificant. So it's better for your casters to throttle and not go crazy. They aren't doing a whole ton anyways. This section here on the post-Twin Emps trash I feel like is a little bit lacking. He says how these are the hardest and most difficult mobs in the game, but doesn't go too much into like the actual reality of what these are. So you cannot taunt the Mind Slayers. That's a big thing to understand. You need to make sure that when someone gets mind controlled, the next person on threat is going to be someone that can take hits, right? Like if you only have one tank on these, they do the mind control and a bunch of healers are healing, then they're going to run to healers and start killing healers and it just gets out of control, right? So make sure that there's always 2 people on threat that are able to tank these Mind Slayers and that you kill the Mind Slayers last. Any raid that you've or any pull that you have with Mind Slayers, understand that you're going to have to CC and control people that get mind controlled and deal with the Mind Slayers last. You always want to kill these Slayers first. The Slayers have lower health pools. They do AoE, so yeah, don't have casters near them. They do a silence as well that can be cleansed. They do a knockback, so because they do a knockback, tanks lose threat. They are silenced, so they can't taunt, so then people die. Blow these up, kill these Slayers as fast as you can. Never have more than 2 Slayers stacked. always have control of the champion. You kill Slayers, then Champion, then Mind Slayer. Champions have a lot of health. They do a cleave, they do an AoE fear. So it's all about positioning and just control. Final thing here, these mobs really simple, easy. Yeah, like mana burn, cleave them down, not hard. If you manage to get through all the sucky trash, you get to be rewarded with two pretty easy loot pinatas in the grand scheme of things. Oro is a fight where it's all about the tanks. There's some different like cheese strategies where you can have casters out to the side that um, basically soak the threat is a way to think of it. Instead of the tank getting hit by the threat reduction, the casters run super far away and they don't get hit by it. They get out of range before the hit happens, and they're able to keep the threat on the main tank that way. But the general strategy is you just have 3 or 4 main tanks. The main tank is fighting behind, and like as this positioning shows, right? Everyone is behind the boss, right? When the um, threat drop happens, you're gonna see here. What's it called? I want to make sure I say the name of the ability. Sandblast. I couldn't think of the name. Yes. So, like he's saying, the way it works is Oro's going to first do its knockback. The tank charges back in. Hopefully, they have Intercept ready to go. As a free product can be tough. That's why Feral Druids tend to be really good for this fight because they can reliably charge back in every time. But yeah, so they charge back in, and then the Sandblast happens. Sandblast drops your threat, and then the next tank is going to pick it up. So the next tank goes to where the main tank was standing, and you just repeat that over and over, making sure that the top person on threat is going to be someone that's able to tank it, or a caster way to the side, so when the boss turns and faces the caster, it's not going to breath and make everyone lose their threat that got hit by it. Final fight here is Cthulhu mentions the importance of the entrance into the fight. That's key. You're going to see an example of a fail here where the main tank starts running in, stops for a second, and then goes in more, and everyone is too close to the main tank. So the main tank wants to get on their mount. They want to run in and run as far in as they can. So better example here. Tank runs in, I like to go into the far left and just like hug the wall to the far side. There's a couple different methodologies when it comes to entering the room as the tank. The thing to understand is that ideally you have your diamond flask going, so you're going to be able to heal yourself up. After the first or second beam, you're using a life-giving gem to heal yourself, or a nature pot, something to generate more threat. Getting yourself on the threat table is the key as the tank. You want to get in the room and do something to make sure you're the highest on the threat table. When people are running in with the tank and they cast things and they do more threat than the tank, suddenly the boss will turn and beam the raid. So on the start here, when that tank first goes in like that and dismounted, the tank should start casting something to generate threat, and other people should not. The caster should not be worried about healing and doing damage during the walk-in phase. Same with melee DPS. Until you're certain that it's a comfortable start for the first 3-4 seconds, just chill. So after that first phase of doing damage, then Dark Glare happens. So you see Dark Glare, how it spins and goes around the room, and if you stand in Dark Glare, you're going to die. Good explanation. But I think that this is poor. This explanation here, as far as groups should swap, I hate that. Really, really dislike that. My recommendation is that you keep the same positionings throughout this fight. Some people say, oh yeah, go counterclock. Just go back to the same spot you were at, okay? It makes things so much simpler for you. This strategy here in practice does not work well. So after the phase 1, where you've killed the first round of the boss, respawns, and you got to kill it below. Once you kill it below, then you kill it up above. I think that this guide does a pretty good job explaining the basics, but just wanted to go through, if you were watching this guide, watch this after, just so you see those little bit of qualifications to what was said. Just some small little things. Biggest to me is don't waste your time farming nature resist, and don't put too much importance on nature protection potions. They are really valuable, but at the end of the day, it really does comes down to doing mechanics. If you can't do mechanics, spend more money, buy more consumes, but they aren't super needed for most of what you're going to be doing. So just sharing some thoughts.